So let's hear how they saw how the world reacted to the Ukraine conflict. First up, China expert, very considerable China expert, Keith Bennett. Keith, thanks for joining us. Did I summarize the Chinese position properly?
Well, thanks very much, George. And I'm afraid that, as always, you've said just about everything that needs to be said on the subject. So really, I want to echo what you said. I mean, you're so right that when you sit in Britain and we having an absolute onslaught of anti-Russian hate and war propaganda, such that, Tchaikovsky and Dostoevsky are subjects of bans. And now whatever you think of Tchaikovsky or Dostoevsky, I don't think they can be held responsible for the actions of Mr. Putin. So you get this feeling, you get the impression is given that to have a policy that actually can see the Russian point of view is completely beyond the pale. Nobody is going to subscribe to it. But if you look at what's happened in the United Nations, for all that you can look at when it went to the General Assembly, certainly it's true that the majority of countries voted for an anti-Russian resolution, albeit one that they'd already had to water down considerably to get where they did. But the representatives of the majority of the world's population did not support that resolution. China and India, as you've mentioned, as well Pakistan, Bangladesh, Vietnam, none of these countries supported. 35 countries, including Russia, cast a negative vote in the General Assembly. 35 abstained. But as I say, they represent the majority of the world's population. If you look at those, then there was a country like Venezuela, which was not able to vote because its voting rights have been taken away because it can't pay its dues, membership dues to the UN. Why can't it do that? Because the Americans have sanctioned and blockaded them. But you have, 17 African countries abstained on the resolution, and one of them, Eritrea, voted against. And even when one looks at those who voted for the American resolution, the Canadian ambassador to the UN was tweeting during the debate saying, we're working the phones to make sure people vote for this resolution. So there's, as you say, a lot of arm twisting, a lot of blackmail, a lot of threats. So you have to put it also into that context. And I was talking to an Iraqi friend, a veteran Iraqi communist, and he told me that just in Iraq, literally everyone is supporting the Russians. And then he'd sent me a message later in the evening to show that that night, all across Baghdad, huge posters of Putin had gone up. And of course, Iraq was also one of the countries that didn't vote with the Americans. Because as you said, Russia, China have never colonized a Middle Eastern country, rather the contrary. So I think that it can be very isolating and dispiriting here in Britain, but we have to remember that those of us who are against this war propaganda and this anti-Russian hatred actually are standing on the same side as the majority of the people of the world.
That's a very powerful way of putting it.